Hello, everyone. I'm Dawn McCarty. Welcome to the Securing Everything show. In the cyber world, we refer to data as the new oil. And guess what? If data is the new oil, then identity is the new gold. The purpose of this show is to translate the complexity of cyber and data and identity security so that everyone, including the technically challenged, can learn and be involved in protecting their homes and their businesses. On each episode, I will break down what you need to know about the topic for that day. I will show you everything you do becomes part of your identity, from your personal life to your professional life and even your hobbies. Everything can be tied to who and what you are. It becomes your brand. Your branding is not just your name or your business. It is literally everything about you. And that is likely to create data. With data being the new oil and identity the new gold, these are the new modern commodities and they are in high demand. You and everyone you know is a prospective target, not just because of who you are, but because of who you may know or what you may have. Today, I have the pleasure of bringing to you JT Foxx himself. JT is a serial entrepreneur, a property investor, and the world's #1 wealth and business coach. He has brands and business interests all over the world, and he has philanthropic endeavors that are very near and dear to his heart. JT can be identified as himself by his brands and his goodwill. So let's ask JT what he thinks about data and identity security and how he prioritizes securing everything. JT, welcome to the Securing Everything show.
All right, shoot.
So you talk a lot about branding. In many aspects, branding becomes part of your identity. So having both your own personal brand of JT Foxx, as well as all of your other brands that you have built, it's inevitable that you have data that needs to be protected. What are your biggest concerns in protecting your own brands?
Well, I mean, the first threat is people putting false things on the internet. So that's a big problem. Because in a world of hatred, I mean, we just got Facebook to take down after 8,561 posts, the stalker I had. So finally put that down. And so also doxing, which is where people take your private information and put online. That's it, as a way where you live, what you do, especially when you are a brand like myself. That's a concern as well. And there's always that concern of hacking, you know. People go in your customers' database, your customer clients, the credit card things. You know, there's a lot of these cyber crimes going around there. So protecting your info. And the problem is that most people don't think about it until it happens. It's kind of like, should I get this insurance? Should I not? And then when it does happen, it costs you 100 times more than if it had just taken some preventive measures. And that's the hard part. That's why people need to talk to you first. If they talk to you first, they would alleviate a lot of problems.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people think this will never happen to me, you know, and then when it does, you can't say that anymore.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So my next question is that COVID has changed how we do business, and protecting our data just got a lot harder now that a lot of us are working from home. How do you see COVID impacting the way that we will need to protect data in the future? And do you foresee any areas that we need to get ahead of immediately?
Well, I mean, Zoom got exposed, right, for many of their things, and they had to buy an encryption company, so they did that. I think a lot of big companies like Facebook and Microsoft and Apple, the question is the small business entrepreneurs. To be honest, I think it's going to take somebody to be like hacked or from their home, and it's going to make the news, and they're going to make a big deal about it, and that's going to go viral. Because I don't think people think it's real until it's real. I think they take it for granted. It'll take somebody to, like, you know, hack into their router or their home and stuff like that. Or people start targeting people that they know are in key level positions and go to their home and try to hack in. So hopefully I'm not giving anybody ideas, but I mean, that's going to be the reality. I really think something bad needs to happen for people to understand. If they're smart, they'll get it done before, but that's the caveat.
Right. Well, a lot of times the businesses are the ones that are actually feeling it. You know, we haven't individually felt it ourselves yet, but that day is probably coming. So you're probably right there. So I'm usually
right, but when I get interviewed or I'm on a show until I talk to you.
I
But
don't
then when
doubt
it
it.
comes down to what you do, I don't know anything. I just go to the expert, whatever she says.
Okay. Okay. So one of your podcasts on millionaireflix.com, you mentioned that you had some issues that led to a change in CEOs. Changes of that magnitude can be very detrimental, and your data and identity can be impacted when dealing with that kind of leadership change. How important is it to you now in determining what security controls are implemented to protect your brands and secure your data and all of your businesses?
Well, I think the problem there is they took some customer database, and basically took the database of some of the clients and were messaging them as a threat as well. I think number one, having two things. Number one, having more stricter agreements, what happens if someone leaves or not, and quick protocols. But I think the problem is that people have spreadsheets and Google Drives and people download it. And so there's got to be a different way to have that information. You know, it's kind of like the Pentagon, right? Whatever can't come out is to stay inside. Well, we don't have that luxury when entrepreneurs, where we're printing spreadsheets and we have customer database as well. So, you know, I think there needs to be a plan for everything, sensitive data. It's not like any credit card information was stolen, but the database is your gold, right? That's like your gold mine.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that was very, very, thanks for reminding me, very devastating.
Sorry about reminding you, but it is true that, you know, you need to know where is your data stored, and that needs to be in a secured location so that you can actually have controls around that. So
right, and most people, like, you know, their servers can get stolen, or they don't have a server. Everything is kind of, you know, and I think sometimes just using Google Drive is not a good solution to that as well. Oops, I didn't know is a very expensive mistake, and I think today it could be debilitating.
Yes, exactly. You know, and it was a painful memory, I'm sure, but a valuable lesson, because now you going forward.
Listen, it was kind of the best. Francie's my CEO now, and that turned out to be much better. But you know, I always do the right thing. Most people don't. There's been a quote: "If you have any expectations from people, then you're going to get disappointed." So I've kind of learned not to expect anything. I'll do what I do, and you know, I'll be talking about that on my show today at Millionaire 365, of a realization I came through today after talking to my coaches of disloyalty, and you know, it's an ever process, but you know, what goes around comes around. So.
Right. Yeah. And you have moved on, and you're actually better for it. So that's a good place.
Well, I've never forgot. I may have moved on, but it just, when you help somebody so much and you get screwed, and the people that do the screwing, they never think they did something wrong. That's another part.
Oh, exactly.
They just, you know, they have their own plausible deniability.
Exactly. Yeah. So the next question I have is a scenario for you. So we're going to do some role playing with you this time. So pretend that you are an information security engineer and you see breaches occurring all the time. And your organization, if they were to take a hit, you're the expert. So your name might be attached to that breach. So this motivates you to speak to your leaders and your board of directors about the best practices or solutions for those threats. But your board has a reputation, and they tend to accept the risk rather than taking the suggestion for the improvements. So that they give you the reason that is because the cost could be more than the actual cost of the liability. How would you convince the organization to choose to take the improvements over accepting the risks?
Well, what we've seen is with coronavirus, for example, if you do the math, how many people died versus how much we spent and the impact on the economy. But if we would have looked at it as a business, it'd be like, well, kind of done the Sweden approach to it. Yet they still have a very high death rate, majority over 70 though. That you would have found out that this mostly affects people more than 70. There's odd cases before. And I mean, we're still shut down 3 months later. Now we're supposed to be reopen in Chicago, but there are riots now. So everything's still boarded up. So you're like doubling that as well. I think now there's two things. There's a cost cutting component of companies are already behind. So they're thinking costs, but now we're thinking about liability. Like even, for example, reopening a large event. What if somebody gets coronavirus and all your attendees have coronavirus? Now you're making the news and that's affecting your brand. So there's a lot of risk as well. But when it comes down to the data of your customer, where everything's going digital, people can't leave that to chance, because at the end of the day, You know, these companies have gotten away with it. You have Target got away with it, Marriott got away with it, and now of course they probably have different things. But I don't think people are going to be too tolerant. And now you're exposing yourself to a very big liability. And to be honest with you, in a deposition, to be like, did you not? And yes, and then you find out that email, and it ends up costing you billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, and no jury's going to find you very sympathetic. And with attorneys always looking for the next score, that would be a very good one.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot to say about what did you know, when did you know about it, and then what did you do about it? Unfortunately, they can purchase insurance to protect themselves with that as well. So that's definitely something that maybe going forward with the changes that are happening, we can start, you know, focusing more on the integrity of doing what's right.
100%.
Yeah. And one more scenario for you. The cybersecurity world is running on a shortage of experts to fill all of the jobs that are available, that have been available. The number of cybersecurity experts that we needed as of 2019 was 1.5 million. And according to Dr. Eric Cole, who is a cybersecurity expert, we need about 5,000 chief information security officers on top of that. So it appears that we are filling jobs, people are accepting jobs, but it's in reality, it's just swapping jobs for better pay or better benefits, which leaves the same vacancies for jobs out there. So why do you think we have such a huge shortage in filling these positions, and what can we do better to inspire people to enter this line of work?
With 40 million Americans out of job, right? How many of those are in this industry? And I think now the idea would be like, hey, would you like a 6-figure job or a high 5-figure jobs as well? This is where, because this industry is recession proof. So I actually think re-educating a large part, because I think the job market is going to stay unemployed for a long time because there's not going to be the demand there. Also, too, people realize you can do less with more, right? I mean, you don't need all these people, right? And then so you're cutting overhead, you're maybe not as big, your profits are there. So I think it's just kind of now re-educating the people, say, hey, would you like to add this? Because this is where the money is. And you'll see a lot of people shift. Now, if this was, 90 days ago, it's a different story. But now 40 million people are out of work. So I'm sure you can find a lot of people now to transfer over who have certain skills or to add these skills. It's just a re-education process.
Yeah, that's a very good point, that there's actually more availability at this particular time where, like you said, 90 days ago, we're looking at 1.5 million people that we're short of. So that's definitely something that if they can look at getting that education and looking into cybersecurity or data security as something that could be exciting and lucrative, now's a good time to shift. So I agree with that.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out to be with me today and answering some of these questions.
The theme is people need to talk to you. That's the thing. Because I don't know anything about anything. That's why I rely on people on you. People need to talk to you if they want to know exactly what are the risks, the liabilities, the best, worst, most likely. That's why you're the expert. That's why everybody goes to you for that very simple reason. So that's why people need you. And you can't leave this up to chance. The future is not the future. The future is in the present. These threats are real. And here's the thing too. It's a lot less expensive now than to fix the problem. And that doesn't include the big Bitcoin extortion thing where you got to pay those extortion fees on top of that, and the bad press and the bad things. So don't be penny wise and dollar foolish when it comes down to this stuff. Definitely talk to Dawn. She definitely knows.
That's great advice, and I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. And I hope that someday we'll have you back again. And thank you again for your time today.
Be safe. Thank you. Keep everybody safe, just not health-wise, systems-wise.
That's exactly right. Thank you.